Welcome to the finale. As always with these three-part series, if you've not seen the first two, they will be in the description below. The last time I'd just beaten the Temple of Time, and so after collecting the heart container it was time to leave and take on the rest of the game. I'd done almost all the side content available in the game, so there wasn't much to do before moving the story forward. Before leaving the past, it was important to first remember to move two owl statues using the Dominion Rod. One led to a piece of heart, the other led to a Poe, which was very easy to kill and did not cause me any trouble at all. After leaving the past, Uku said some stuff about heading home to the heavens and the Dominion Rod had lost its power. Returning to the sanctuary to try and get Ilias' memory back, something that I hadn't covered at all since I skipped every cutscene she was involved in, I got Renado's letter, and before delivering it I visited the Golden Wolf in the graveyard to learn the jump strike. On the way to Castletown I got a letter from Renado telling me to pick up his letter in person. And being one step ahead of the game as always made that redundant, and I gave the letter to Telma. After that, I got the invoice for the doctor's bar tab, paid him a visit, and he didn't like that, and said that he was going to sell a wooden statue to pay off his tab, but it got covered in medicine, and then it got stolen, so I learned the medicine scent. The scent leads all the way to the south of Castletown, but the contents it leads to can only be picked up at night. So I had a few things to do to kill time, including picking up two chests in this area that I could have gotten earlier, but decided to leave until now, in case of this exact scenario occurring. This particular chest is one that I never knew how to get as a kid because I always thought you needed to use the spinner to get across this gap. And the reward is an extremely underwhelming orange rupee. The other one actually does require the spinner, and that led to the surprise Zelda stamp. And then I just needed to wait some more. This game would be a lot better if you could just change the time manually. Anyway, with the long wait over, I beat up all the Stallhounds and picked up the wooden statue. And forgot to change the next split, which I didn't notice for ages. Oh well, I could just edit that split manually if I decided to do this run again. The wooden statue brought back some of Ilias' memories, remembering a village, and the Goron chief Darbus went to the entrance to said village. It was the only Hyrule location I still hadn't visited, and mapping out the whole world is an important step in 100%+. Before actually heading into the village, there was a spinner track here leading to a dig spot. This one had a bunch of Stalfos inside, and after blowing up them and myself and getting a good return on bombs that I just used, I got a piece of heart. Now it was time to actually head into the village. Darbus had been attempting to smash these rocks. I skipped the cutscene of him actually doing so, and I said hello to the hidden village. The objective here was to kill the 20 boblins hanging around, while the best music in the game plays in the background. With all the enemies beaten, the old lady, whose name is Impaz, completely separate from Impa, showed up and gave me Ilias' charm. If you show her the Dominion Rod, this results in also getting the Ancient Sky Book. I then went to do a minigame that it turned out I couldn't do just yet, but I did use this Howling Stone while I was here. Totally got that on my first attempt. This added the last Golden Wolf to the overworld. Showing Ilia the charm brings back all of her memories. I do wish they did more with this storyline, as opposed to essentially making it optional. And also, it perhaps would have been good to move the resolution earlier, as you get the horse call, which isn't exactly useful this late in the game. Also, at this point I remembered to split, so I apparently took 1 second to beat that whole section. So anyway, as I said, I got the horse call for doing this, which allows you to call your horse at any time, which would have been more useful during the early game. Now for the actual proper story stuff, I showed the Ancient Skybook to Shad, who chanted some words from it, supposedly doing nothing. However, it breathed life into the Dominion Rod. After this, I got given a list of owl statues around Hyrule to use the rod on. There are 6 in total, and you'll never see this segment in any percent because they skip this by clipping through the statue in the basement. This is most certainly not any percent, so I went to each location, picking up the Sky character and taking each statue on an adventure to get more optional stuff. with the Bridge of Elden One requiring the most effort. Said effort resulted in a heart piece. Oh, but I had to put a pin in that briefly, because there was an optional minigame unlocked in the hidden village. Going in as a wolf and talking to the cuckoo leader, I was tasked with befriending the cats. There are 20 in the village and you have to talk to each one. Except they run about, and some look identical to others, so keeping track of who you have and haven't spoken to is extremely hard. Helpfully, my little guide I wrote for myself for this run said, Hidden Village Cats, so this took me a while. Talking to all 20 resulted in another piece of heart. Since it was night time, once the cats were sorted, a Poe appeared. I don't know what happened here, but the sidebar element disappeared from OBS and didn't return for a while. Just pretend it's there for a few minutes. Back to the owl statues, I got the second sky character and used the statue to get around to the chest to the letter E. I also noticed that this one small part of the map hadn't been filled in, so I blew up these rocks and now had visited every single part of the overworld. Apart from this very small area of Faron Woods, which happened to be where the next sky character was found anyway. Then I realised that OBS was being silly and fixed it, then hopped up to this high up area and opened the chest to get a piece of heart. Statue number 4 was west of Castletown, getting the sky character and an orange rupee. In the area around the Bridge of Hylia, I moved another statue and got another chest, where the effort did not line up with the reward. The last one I had to do was in the Gerudo Desert. The amount of moving about that you have to do for this one is ridiculous, and again it just leads to an orange rupee. I talked to Shad and handed over the filled skybook. He chanted again and the owl statue became movable with the Dominion Rod. I had therefore unearthed the sky cannon, which was warped to Lake Hylia. And this was going to be the last time I ever needed to spend rupees, thus proving just how useless they are, and how this game really does have a problem with overgiving money. Please just remove wallets from all games. This is something Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does so much better than any of the other games in the series. Anyway, with the 300 spent on the cannon repair, it was time to get straight to the next dungeon. Although I couldn't avoid Uku coming along for the ride. Welcome to the City in the Sky. This is where Uku's race, creatively called the Uka, all live. Oh, and there's also a dragon going around causing chaos. First port of call was the shop, as I needed to pick up Uku from here and add her to my inventory. The main area had a couple of minor chests underwater, and I made sure not to wear the Zora armor here, as I did so on my first playthrough, and then I forgot to take it off and got destroyed by the boss as a result. These Uka can be picked up and glide around just like cuckoos, except the noise they make is somehow even more annoying. In the next room I met the upgraded version of a Helmasaur, appropriately called a Helmasaurus. Heading out the east exit, I did this very complicated puzzle involving the spinner, and after building the bridge I realised I shouldn't have come here yet. And also nearly died. I make this mistake literally every time I do the City in the Sky. I needed to clawshot this grate first, do this other complicated puzzle, cross this bridge as the door wasn't locked, and inside headed up here to get a small key. Fun fact about this room, it's the only room in a dungeon where if you save, quit and reload, you'll say spawned in this room rather than spawning at the dungeon entrance. And this is because once you've crossed this bridge, a dragon comes along and breaks it, and they actually thought ahead and made sure people wouldn't be able to skip this. Back on the east side, I unlocked the door, did a bunch of silly little puzzles, and nearly accidentally went the correct way. We don't want that. Optional stuff comes before progress. From this chest I got the dungeon map. Then I actually did head into the next room. Nothing particularly noteworthy in this room other than one minor chest and a bunch of hidden tile worms and wind turbines. I definitely made that jump first time, don't look at the timer. These enemies are Dynalphos, and they are horrible to fight because they block almost every attack, but they also die in one hit from a bomb arrow if they aren't guarding. Also there's a trick to making them both jump down the pit and die, but I never figured out how to pull that one off. Clawshotting this ornament switches on a wind turbine, allowing access to the next room. I got slightly turned around in this room due to missing the clawshottable thing at the entrance, but in my defence my brain was still scrambled from the cat finding minigame. Anyway, I did eventually realise I'd missed it, which is good because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten 20 extra rupees. In this big room here, where I never fell to my death, don't look at the timer, the door at the very bottom leads to the mini-boss chamber. Just like in the previous dungeon, the mini-boss here, an Aerophos, just becomes a normal enemy later on. It would be impossible to beat, but thankfully there's a clawshot target grafted onto its shield to make it possible to grab out of there and slash to death. After doing that a few times, I won and clawshotted up to the chest. And inside the chest we have the clawshot. Yes, you get 2 clawshots in this game. With 2 of them, I could then aim while already latched onto a target. Unfortunately, I fell down here 4 times. Thankfully, the timer was meaningless at this point in the run, though. And we have the usual. Use the item you just got to get yourself out of the area you'd otherwise be stuck in. Unlocking these double doors, I then entered the room that contained the compass. The rest of the dungeon was just this. Clawshot to thing, then while hanging, clawshot to other thing. I would say something critical about running out of ideas, but I actually really love clawshotting around like Spider-Man. Anyway, with the double clawshots, I was able to make my way across the broken bridge, and then entered a room that brings back bad memories. Back in 2017, I did a charity event at uni when we played games for 24 hours. Oh, speaking of, you should totally follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/KillerKiwi1642. I'll be doing a pretty fun charity event stream there soon. Or, if you're watching this in the future, I did a pretty good charity stream there. Yeah, so during this event, I got so tired that I couldn't see this grate here to clawshot to, and so I ended up giving up in the city in the sky. Despite me being fully awake while I was recording this one, I actually still did get slightly lost in this room before eventually remembering that I needed to hit the Sims gem in order to open the door. Clawshotting to the top of the room, I got the Uku stamp and some bombs. Then there was this room with a giant Deku Baba that I totally could have just ignored, but I've always got the urge to kill it, and rising up the room and collecting the arrows and a heart piece, and a yellow rupee, I forced myself to ignore this dino foes and headed outside. Unfortunately, I had colossal time loss in this area because I missed the targets a million times and had to wait a while for them to come back. Not sure what I'm watching here, to be honest. Anyway, I eventually got over the wall, got some rupees, and headed to this island for the first of 2 pos in this dungeon. And I also got the G stamp. Then more waiting around for things to happen, more useless chests, more clawshotting, another piece of Dino Foe slaying, and then I was finally in the room with the big key. Took a while though, not world record pace. I got the big key, somehow not getting flattened immediately after gameplay resumed. Before jumping down, I had another couple of random chests to open, and of course the second po of this dungeon. And the letter Z. Hopping down to this main hub area and activating the fans, I then entered this outdoor area. It is actually possible to do without the fans being on, using precise boomerang jumps, but of course that's a glitch, so not allowed. I then fought these 2 aero foes at once, and while watching a 100% speedrun the other day, I found out that you can actually hit them with the helm splitter and the ball and chain. And if I'd known that while doing this, it's been a lot less time consuming. I made my way to the top of this room with no optional content and entered the boss arena. I then went the wrong way, which I am pretty sure I've done every single time I've played the game. Then went up the proper way to fight the boss, Argorok. Phase 1 is an auto-scroller, just wait for him to fly past a few times, hover above, weigh him down to remove the armour, repeat once more, and then Phase 2 begins. And Phase 2 is a wee bit harder, but ultimately it is a boss in a 3D Zelda game that isn't one of the open world ones, so basically it's actually just extremely easy and impossible to fail if you have enough hearts. Anyway, yeah, just clawshot about for a bit until he stops moving, hit this glowy target, slash a few times, repeat twice more, and win. And with that, 7 dungeons down, 2 to go, along with the 4th mirror shard obtained, and the 7th heart container. Now, the double clawshots unlock almost nothing new on the overworld, so it wasn't going to be long before I took on the next dungeon. I got the last few letters from the postman, one of which told me to go to do exactly what I was about to do, which is take on the star minigame for the 2nd time. Not Tingle made a new one for me to do, which is harder. Unfortunately, my aim was very off this time, and I did absolutely horribly. Failing twice and getting it on the 3rd try, I got the giant quiver. I went ahead and just got the last hidden skill. It could be seen as faster to wait until the end of the game, but this one is genuinely really useful, assuming I could keep full hearts at all times. It would be even more useful if I could figure out how speedrunners do the instant spin attack. I've never been able to find out info on how to do this, but anyway, I made use of the double claw shots to get this chest containing the V stamp. There was one other Hyrule Field area with a double claw shot target, and this one led to a piece of heart. And that's it. Nothing else to do here but head to the next dungeon. This is the Palace of Twilight, and it's a very straightforward one, especially for speedrunning. Oh, but don't you worry, I made sure to not make it straightforward at all. I do wish I had done a practice of the dungeons before actually recording, but unfortunately with my full-time job I don't really have time to practice, hence why this was all done in one attempt rather than resetting every time I made a mistake. But anyway, I got the angry Midna stamp, which represents my views on work getting in the way of gaming 24/7, and then took on the mini-boss. Well, one of the mini-bosses, Phantom Zant, which there are two of. Speedrunners somehow always know exactly where he'll be, but I did what I always do and just run around hoping he'll spawn near me. After beating him, I got a soul to bring back to the entrance, and a spooky hand followed me through the walls. This was a lot more unnerving when I was younger, but it's actually incredibly easy. Getting the soul back to the entrance, it generates a new platform to ride over to the east side and do basically the same thing, but with the rooms having slightly different layouts. I completely missed most optional chests in these areas, but the dungeon item would help make it easier to get them on a return trip. It was a similar process as before, killing the big Zant heads to spawn chests, etc., and also got the Zant Samp along the way. And the dungeon map, and a small key, then made it to the mini-boss chamber. And I'm not even going to bother showing the fight because it's exactly the same. And the soul was brought back to the previous rooms and placed down at the entrance. This caused the Master Sword to be infused with light so I could cut through darkness. So naturally, instead of progressing, I went back and got the many chests I missed. There were a few that actually did require the light sword upgrade, such as this piece of heart, but also a few in plain sight I completely miss, such as the compass. I activated this platform in the east room and picked up the 45th and final heart piece in the game, and a rupee. Then was able to continue through the rest of the dungeon. The rest of this place is not particularly interesting. You cut through darkness, throw balls around, kill Zant masks, not a single piece of optional content either, so it's exactly like doing an any percent run. So it was just a case of running through it all as fast as possible while making as few mistakes as possible. And it actually went not bad, to be honest. I got the small key to leave here, along with the big key. Look at me, attempting to be a professional speedrunner. This room is very stupid. It has trial and error platforms, and unfortunately, the later the game's content, the worse my memory of things like this gets. Speeding things up a bit, I got through the rest of the room, killed the enemies, got a small key, and then made my way to the end. A couple more batches of Shadow Beasts later, and it was time to take on the boss. Zant himself is a pretty fun boss fight, many different phases where he takes you through a journey to previous bosses in the game, requiring you to use whatever item you needed to use against those particular bosses. Phase 1, you fight him in the Forest Temple boss arena and beat him using the Gale Boomerang. Phase 2, the Goron Mines mini boss arena, equip the Iron Boots and then slash him a bunch of times. Phase 3, the Lakebed Temple boss arena, clawshot him and stab him. Phase 4, Ook arena, roll into the pillars, kill him when he lands. Phase 5, Snow Peak Ruins boss arena. Use the ball and chain to make him somehow turn tiny and then bully him till he warps you away for Phase 6. I forgot how badly I did during this fight until I was watching it back. It's a pretty mad fight, but I had no right failing as hard as I did. Ah well, at least on my next attempt that will definitely happen, I'll get a much better time. After winning, and after Midna actually kills him properly in the skipped cutscene, I got a heart container bringing me to 20 hearts total. And had nothing left to do but beat the final dungeon. Yeah, that was a lie. I had the 50 floors of the Cave of Ordeals to complete. It can't be finished until you have the double claw shots, but I deliberately waited until I had 20 hearts just to be sure. Unfortunately, every room isn't as easy as floor 1. Every 10th floor you get a great fairy who releases fairies into one of the springs, and a stamp, the first being the surprise Link stamp. Oh, and this place contains Pose. Oh hey, Poe number 59. And then Poe number 60, the last one in the game. In 100% in the original, you'd leave immediately after this due to lack of stamps, but they run until floor 50 in HD. After beating the final floor with 3 Dark Nuts and getting the Fairy Stamp, I also got to Great Fairy's Tears and was done with the Cave of Ordeals. But I had another long, arduous gauntlet to complete. I won't cover every detail of the full 40 floors of the Cave of Shadows, but basically I ran through it and beat it all, with the last floor being the hardest. I used the Wolf Link amiibo to heal at one point, hence why I was only missing half a heart going into this area. The most annoying part of this place was trying to kill the Dinophos as a wolf, but I did it, and upon reaching the end I got probably the most useless reward, considering how late you are in the game to be able to get it. The Colossal Wallet, which holds 9,999 rupees, and I have nothing to spend them on. Oh yeah, and here's another 200 rupees. After finishing that, I was finally done with almost all the game's side content. Returning all the Poe souls gets me a silver rupee. That's not all, but I decided to just quickly nip over to Hyrule Castle to initiate this long, unskippable cutscene of Midna transforming and destroying the barrier, therefore unlocking access to the end of the game. This is the quickest and easiest way to transform back into a human, as I needed to be one to talk to depressed Giovanni at the bar. Then return to his house to get another silver rupee and the all-important rupee stamp. Then I actually entered Hyrule Castle for the finale. And then I did something very stupid. I tried. I really tried, but I didn't successfully go for this entire run without any OBS mistakes. I stopped recording for a bit, then when I came back I forgot to actually resume recording. When I got halfway through finishing the courtyard I realised this, said some words that you won't normally hear on this channel, then reloaded my save. Thankfully, I saved when I went in, so I just had to pause the timer, start recording, then hit play on my timer again once I reached the exact spot I got to. So yeah, that's why the timer is paused at the beginning. I'm just glad I noticed this when I did, and not, say, when I was beating Ganondorf. So yeah, I did the east side of the courtyard first, doing this relatively simple puzzle that I actually struggled to figure out as a lowly teen, getting the dungeon map, and up this ladder to get the sad Zelda stamp. Digging into this pile of leaves, I got to the next little hidden area, blew up some enemies, pressed the switch, turned off the rain by lighting a torch, somehow, then got to the best chest in the entire game. And even more useless rupees after that. Normal 100% is a lot faster in this area. Anyway, taking this owl statue over here, I got a small key, and the emergence out of this pile of leaves was the point where I realised I wasn't recording. So here I continued the timer. I wasn't done with the outside though, I needed another small key. And of course, it's the 4th appearance of King Boolin. And another horrid performance at fighting him. And I got the key, without killing him. And also another 40 useless rupees. Right, time to actually enter Hyrule Castle. Consisting of a bunch of fights where I kept taking damage so I couldn't use the Great Spin, getting the compass, Dark Nut fight that I actually didn't do horribly on, a boomerang puzzle that I had to look up on YouTube on my first ever playthrough. I wasn't too bright back then. killing the Dinophos before they could even see me and blowing up this hidden gem, a double Dark Nut fight that I didn't do too terribly on, more money that I can't spend, and that chest will also contain even more money. And then I reached the big key chest. And a big, long and cool yet unskippable cutscene played in which the folks I barely interacted with during this run, apart from when it suited me, showed up and saved the day. Getting the big key and another small key from this Aerophos, doing another silly puzzle that I may have had to Google as a child. Not as an adult though, I am very intelligent. That led to me being able to open this chest, and I got a silver rupee. And then I had collected everything that can possibly be collected in Hyrule Castle other than the final chamber. I made my way through the final few halls, making no mistakes at all, ignore that, making no mistakes at all, beating the final Dark Nut, and before actually entering the final boss chamber I had to get the very last bunch of chests in the entire game. And so, time to rattle off everything I got. Blue rupee, yellow rupee, red rupee, water bombs, arrows, bombs, seeds, more arrows, purple rupee, water bombs, silver rupee, orange rupee, and finally the Happy Zelda stamp, which was the 49th one, meaning I automatically unlocked the last one, Twilight Princess stamp. And with that done, I entered the final boss arena. And just to recap, in order to have this game completed with the 100% plus category, the following things need to be obtained. All inventory items, which are fishing rod with a coral earring attached, slingshot, lantern, gale boomerang, iron boots, hero's bow, double clawshots, spinner, ball and chain, dominion rod, hawkeye, all 4 bottles, all 3 bomb bags upgraded to giant bomb bags, ancient skybook with all 6 characters handed in, horse call, and make sure to have also handed in Oru's memo, Ashi's sketch, Renado's letter, the invoice and the wooden statue. All equipment, which includes the Zora armor, hero's clothes, magic armor, Orden shield or wooden shield, Hylian shield, Orden sword, master sword, all 45 pieces of heart, all 8 heart containers from dungeons, the colossal wallet, giant quiver, all 60 pole souls traded in, the medicine scent replacing all the other scents before it, all 24 golden bugs handed in, all 6 fish in the fishing journal, the 4 fish caught while on the boat, and the 2 extra lures, all 7 hidden skills, at least 14 of the 16 letters since 2 are missable, all 50 stamps, all 4 fused shadows, and all 4 mirror shards. And then a bunch of other things, including all 15 portals, all 3 vessels of light filled, the shadow crystal, the light sword upgrade, all small keys and big keys, all dungeon maps and compasses, all ukus, all dungeons fully explored, all areas of the map covered, all overworld shortcuts unlocked, all 50 floors of the Cave of Ordeals completed, and finally, open all 154 of the chests that contain random crap that you wouldn't normally care about in normal 100%. Right, enough delaying, it's time to end this series. I skipped the cutscenes like usual, so viewers who haven't played the game have zero context for what's going on, hence wondering why Zelda is the final boss. But it's actually Ganondorf controlling her. Also, despite getting amazing RNG with her using this attack first, I completely missed and got hit, and the battle went on way longer than I would have hoped. Obviously though, I did win, and then phase 2 was Big Bad Beast Ganon. Just need to grab him when he appears out of one of these portals. For some reason I kept attacking him in wolf form instead of using the Master Swords, but oh well. I must have been getting tired at this point. Phase 3 was the one I dreaded the most because I've always been terrible at it. Fighting Ganondorf on horseback requires you to line up Zelda's bow positioning with him, but I actually did pretty well. This is probably the best I've ever done at this actually. And then finally, phase 4, just fighting Ganondorf on a one-on-one. I really wish they'd have cast whoever did this laugh to be Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom. Huge missed opportunity. So yeah, because I genuinely didn't care about the time at this point, and because I always do it because it's silly that the game allows it, I just kept using a fishing rod to distract Ganondorf and then attacked him. And that's how the whole fight went. After a couple of minutes, Fisherman Link knocked down Ganondorf and gave him the final blow. And with a time of 18 hours, 25 minutes and 11 seconds, I became probably the first person to beat a speedrun of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD 100% plus glitchless. This was quite the journey. I did enjoy doing it for the most part, though there is no way I'd be able to do it all in one go. I don't know if anyone else will ever pick this up as it's a pretty rough category to run, but I think if big speedrunners were interested and wanted to take it on, they'd definitely find ways to optimise the hell out of it in probably half the amount of time it takes to complete it. If you enjoyed this little 3-part mini-series, be sure to subscribe because there will be more Zelda content on the way, along with your regularly scheduled Pokemon videos as well. I've also decided I want to start doing proper speedruns and just general streams, so if you're into that, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/killerkiwi1642. The link to that will be in the description below. With all that said and done, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.